Are you trying to rush your healing journey too fast? It's one of the most common things I see. And when people make a transition from high school level to college level sports and college level to professional level, they say that the game slows down for them. And I think that this is something that a lot of us need to remember when we're working toward our health goals. We need to remember to slow things down a little bit. Now, last week I worked Friday morning and I went home. I took a nap. I woke up. I was sick, like just flat out sick after that. And it took me a couple days to actually get to the point where I was able to, I had a fever for a few days. So I didn't do anything for a few days. And then it took me a couple days to really get my legs under me again. I lost a bunch of weight, and it takes time to get that strength back. And I think that this is a good analogy for where most of us go through our healing journey. So we start to get sick, and no stopping it, right? You end up, you're just sick, you're laid out, you're flat on your back, you're just done, right? And that's where a lot of us hit the rock bottom. That's the comparison here between the two, is when you hit the rock bottom and you're done. You're like, just I can't do this anymore. I'm ready to make a change. I'm going to start getting healthy. That's the point we're at right there. As we first start to make our trek back to life, so to speak, we usually take it a little bit slow, right? We don't just dive in the next day. You don't go and you work, a heavy manual labor job for 14 hours and expect to be just fine. It doesn't work that way. On Tuesday morning, I ended up canceling half my day because I just didn't have the energy to work a full day doing the physical job that I do. Now, is this as physical as a lot of other jobs? No, but it still does take a lot out of you. So basically what I'm saying is, we take baby steps to get back. We get those legs underneath us, and a lot of us skip that stage. We want to go from being flat on our back, sick as a dog, to just all of a sudden, hey, I'm healthy, I'm normal, I'm ready to go. What can we do? It doesn't work that way. We skip that stage where we ease ourselves back in, and when we look at this analogy, it looks like a very short period of time, right? Because in my case, I'm looking at 1 week. 1 week ago, I was sick. It took me about 3 days to get to the point where I was no longer sick. And then it took me about 3 days to gain back my energy. Now we're here. That doesn't sound like that long of a deal, right? But look at where a lot of people are, right? It's a lot longer time frame than that. Somebody's overweight. How long have they been overweight? Have they been there for months? Have they been there for years? Have they been there for decades? It's going to take a longer period of time depending on how long you've been there, because that's going to determine how deeply ingrained your habits are. It's going to determine, how much metabolic dysregulation you have. It's going to determine, what your capabilities are as far as, how active you've been in the past and everything. So there's a lot of factors that go into this. And we have to plan on that longer acclimation period, because when we just have a little short acclimation period and then we're like, okay, we're good to go, we get frustrated. So we've got to change our expectations a little bit when we look at this. And it's not saying that, you're wrong or that you shouldn't try and get back as healthy as quickly as you can. You should try to get quickly as healthy as quickly as you can. But at the same time, you've got to be realistic about it. We've got to look at this and, hey, you know what? I've had autoimmunity for a decade. My journey back is not going to be, an overnight thing. We'll look at that as an example. When I had autoimmunity, I had it for 11 years. 11 years diagnosed, and I started to make changes in my diet. It took me a few months before I noticed that my thyroid was functioning correctly again, and I was able to stop the medication. But that hasn't been the end of my journey. In the last 10 years, I've been working on, getting my metabolism to work right. I've been working on getting my sleep back to where it's supposed to be. And I've made a lot of strides in 10 years, but if I looked at it in just the time frame, did I get rid of my biggest symptom right away? Absolutely. But the biggest symptom wasn't the only problem. What led me to all of that stuff? It wasn't just the symptom that I was worried about. It was the metabolic dysregulation. It was the sleep dysregulation. It was the stress. It was the way that I was eating. Is all these different things stacked up to be the problem. It wasn't just one thing that was the problem. It's all of this was the problem. And you have to unlay that, or unpeel that in layers. You can't just unravel all of that at the same time. And that takes time. So if you are sitting here, this will probably be posted into January, somewhere in that range. And if you are sitting here and you're thinking, this is frustrating, I haven't lost the weight that I wanted to lose this year, don't get frustrated with it. Understand that that's a part of the process. Understand that everybody else is going through that same thing. And when you look at it as a positive, you're making those changes, you're starting to move forward, you're starting to stack those things together. And when you look at it that way, you start looking at the progress. What Dan Kennedy calls the gap versus the gain. The gap is how far you have to go yet. The gain is how far you've come. And that's the thing. If you've put in 2 straight weeks of working out, or 3 straight weeks of working out, if you put in 2 or 3 weeks work on your diet, if you put in 2 or 3 weeks of work on whatever it is, it doesn't matter. If you've started that consistency, that is something to celebrate. That is progress. It might not be the change that you want to see just yet, but if you put in enough of that progress, it's going to turn into that thing that you want to see. That's the thing you have to remember. So sometimes, getting sick and having a little bit of a reminder on what it looks like to actually heal, if you take the time to actually use it. A lot of people we're sick and we're running around and we just want to get back to our daily life as soon as possible, and we don't take time to look at the analogies and look at where we're at and what we can do. And that's something that can be very valuable, is looking at the things that we do in our lives, the things that we don't necessarily have any choice. In this case, I was just laying there. I didn't have much to do. I couldn't pay attention to the TV. My head hurt. My body hurt. I was just laying there. So I had some time to think. And these are the types of things that pop into my head is, this is a good analogy for the people that I work with. It's a good analogy for me to remember, because I get frustrated just like everybody else. It's just a matter of putting in the work. That's all it takes. Sooner or later, if you put in enough of the right work, you're going to get there. So I hope that you find this helpful. If you do, like, subscribe. It does give me good information as far as what types of things you guys need. And I will continue to share that type of information. So hope that you have a great week. I hope that you all stay healthy, and I will catch you on the next one.